All right. So it's great to be back. Wow. Those of you who know Kabbalistically, we're towards the end of the first month of Pisces. It's a leap year. There are 2 months of Pisces. So the first one gave us a little bit of practice, how to be happy, how to be joyous. Yeah, look at the faces. Okay. So if you heard our new moon, or you heard the astrologers, they say that Pisces is extreme, especially this one, is extreme emotions. So we could be very happy, we can be very sad. Depends on us, like everything else. So yes, we do have amazing astrologers. You can go online. We have one here in Boca, if you're here in Boca, or we have a couple here in Florida, Esther Barnea and Josh Robbins. But we want to keep in mind, astrology is a tool to be used to help us understand possibilities. Like anything else, every challenge comes our way, every situation comes our way. It's a possibility, as we'll talk a little more today, actually, of what our destiny holds. All right, but it's always our choice. There's no such thing as no free will. So why do we do astrology? And a lot of people misconstrue what astrology Kabbalistically is about. You ever used a map? Any of you remember a map? Right? You remember a map? So why did you use a map? You got lost somewhere. The map gave you the picture of the whole area that you were involved in. So you could see where you are, where you got lost, and how to proceed. But does the map tell you which way you have to go? No, it gives you free will. So you can plot the course. Even with a GPS, I'll bet nobody here ever said no to the GPS, right? The GPS tells you go left, and you say, no, I really feel you got to go to the right. Did you ever do that? Yes, so the same thing. The GPS is a tool to be used. Astrology is a tool to be used. Today we'll talk a little bit, reincarnation is a tool to be used. It does not dictate our future. We do, and that's what we want to get into. So before we do, as we do every week, there we go. For those of you here, it's on the screen. For those of you around the world with us, I've put it here. We're going to say our affirmation, the point of the affirmation, making it stronger in our consciousness, the truth, who we are, and what our work is. So this is one facet of it, just to keep strengthening us against the onslaught of negative thoughts, all the negative perspective, all the naysayers in the world, all the chaos and disorder. So we say it together. Consciousness is everything. I raise my consciousness today to see the miracles and wonders of life. I commit myself to behave with greater love, compassion, and kindness towards all human beings. Because as we're going to see today, particularly, how impactful that really is. So start with a simple thing. Would you like to have more control in your life over your destiny? Yes or yes? Yes. How many of you don't want to have no control over your destiny? Great. That's the right answer. We all want to take control. But how many of you ever seen anything that looks unfair and unjust in the world? Yes, exactly. So what about us? Okay, we look in the world, we say, yeah, look at this and look at this. But ask yourself like, uh-oh. Ooh, okay. Let's see what that was. I don't know, they give me something here on some note anyway. So ask yourself, how many times have you ever been good to somebody and then they stabbed you in the back? Ever happened anything along those lines? Right? And you say to yourself, why? What happened? What did I do? How could they do that? Or, hopefully it's none of us, but people who, they're having some kind of ailment, some kind of difficulty physically, and they go to a healer, a doctor or whatever, and they go through a procedure that's suggested to them, and at the end of it, they're worse off. Something went wrong, something went bad, some bad side effect, whatever it may have been. Ever happened? Or someone you know? So what do you say? Wow, everything's great and wonderful? No, you say, how come? Why? It doesn't look fair. It doesn't look just. Or in work, right? You're a Kabbalah student. You say to yourself, you're just a good person. And there's people in the office need help. And so you're just going to be kind and nice and you're going to help them out, give them a little advice, maybe tell them something that you do, et cetera, et cetera. And the next thing you know, they're stealing some form of credit from you. They get the promotion, they get the money, they get the contract, whatever. And you think to yourself, how is the universe doing this? The universe is supposed to be fair. Everything's supposed to be just. Good people getting good things and bad people getting bad things. So how do we understand this? And that's what I'd like to talk about. What in the world, and as I thought of that this morning, literally, not only our world, but in the world around us, what in the world is going on? Because I don't know about you, but it looks like, and I have to admit, me in the mirror sometimes is the same thing. But you look out there and you say, how can smart people be doing stupid things? No? Oh, I see. Some of you don't think they're so smart. You just say, well, if they're doing stupid things, they must be stupid. Okay, so let's get into it and see. We want to have a little more clarity because clarity will give us control. If you're in the dark, like a map, and we started out with that if you've just joined us, it's nice to have you from somewhere around the world. A map. When did we use a map? When we were lost, right? It gave us a way to see how to move forward. It gave us some form of clarity, right? Because if we're lost, we're not clear. I don't know where. I thought this is the way I went the last time. I thought this is, where they told me to go or whatever it is. You take the map out and suddenly you have clarity. So I want us to understand, why did we need the map? If we're such intelligent human beings, why did we need a map? Or today you could say, why do you need a GPS? But I like the map because the GPS, as we said, can tell us what to do. And if we follow it, supposedly it works. Whereas a map, it's more our choice. The map doesn't tell us, but it shows us. So the Kabbalists teach us, and we here in the center learn from Kabbalah 1 forward. We live in two realms of existence. Two realms, constantly. We live in one realm that's known as the 1%, the world of illusion. Okay, let's think about it here in a moment, the world of illusion. But at the same time, there's the world called the 99% realm, the world of reality, the world of truth. So now, relative to what we just said, the illusionary world is the illusion of the five senses, the physical material world, where we're in essence seeing the small picture of life. What's happening now, what's happening to me, what I'm feeling now, what I'm thinking now, what's going on in my life now. The 99% is the big picture, like the map. You're looking from above, or we could say like a satellite, the big picture. The map is just the big picture of what's going on, which we could relate to the 99%. It's showing us the big picture. So when you're driving somewhere and you got lost, what could you do with a map? You take out a map of the whole area that you started, and you say, oh, here's where I started over here. I made these turns, and I ended up where I am. But now that I can see my destiny, I can see my destination where I wanted to go, I can see where I made the wrong turn. Whereas when I was on the ground and driving, I only saw the small picture, five senses, what's right in front of me. I made the wrong turn. So I could think, oh, how come I'm lost if I thought I made all the right turns? Take out the map, shows you the big picture, and suddenly you can realize why you see, why you don't see, etc. Right? Where you may be lost. So this is what we want to get to. But when we say something is unfair or unjust, what are we really saying? I'm in the 1%, I'm on the ground, and I don't see why they didn't put what I want right in front of me. Right? I'm on my way to a social event, somebody's house, and maybe I've been there before. So I think I know. I've driven there maybe 5, 10, 20 times even. But for whatever reason, this time I'm lost. So when I look at that small picture, you follow, my brain is going, something wrong with the road, something wrong with the house. Maybe they moved the house. Because I'm sure I drove the same way this time I drove every other time. So the house must have moved. Couldn't be I made the wrong turn. So this is what happens to us. If we understand, and I think all of us, if you're watching us, if you're listening, all of us believe in the law of cause and effect. The thing is, we need to be more conscious. Cause and effect is absolute. No exception to the rule. no space in the universe that cause and effect is not working to the most minute detail. But in those moments when we're thinking, even if it's momentarily, unfair, unjust, how could it be happening to me? In that moment, what are we saying? Caught up in my five senses. I don't see, I can't perceive, I don't understand where the cause was, because I'm such a good person, to have this challenge come my way. But let's also, and we'll get a little more detail in it, or a little more depth from it, but just think in a simple way. Even though we're all great, amazing people, all of us here, all of you watching all over the world, do you not have any negative emotions? Did you not have in the last day or two a little bit of frustration that you may have turned outward? A little bit of anger, a little bit of impatience, a little bit of judgment that you turned outward on someone or something outside of you? Yes or yes? Okay, so there's a cause and effect. Even a little bit of negativity goes out, a little bit of negativity comes back. Because we forgot, because we're so good, doesn't mean that when that little negativity comes back, it's unfair and unjust. It just means we don't remember what we had done that set up the law of cause and effect. So we want to start changing the way that we are acting, the way we're behaving, because when we act from the 1%, the world of illusion, we're immersed in the world of illusion. So what do you expect to experience? If you're acting from the light, from the upper world, from the true reality, then you're experiencing, you're going to be immersed in that reality. Is everyone getting it? Yes. So then really our free will is to choose. What realm are we going to live in? What realm are we going to be immersed in? What realm do we want to be? I mean, I was thinking today, even in simple terms, if you're standing here in the air, you're immersed in the air. If you jump in a swimming pool and you're underwater, now you're immersed in the water. So whatever you decide, that's where you're going to be. So this is the free will, and this is the only free will that we have, is to choose which realm we want to live in, the 1 or the 99. And we could change, just like the pool. I can jump in the pool, swim around for 5 minutes, and then jump out, I'm in the air. Then I say, okay, I want to go back in the pool. So we can switch realms. It's important that we realize we are constantly in them both. When we're caught up in our illusion, where we don't see reality, the solution is because we have immersed ourselves in that moment, in our consciousness, in the 1%, where things can fool us, where we may not see clearly. Right? So we want to be able to jump. Now, when things look unfair, especially maybe in deeper ways. So I want to share with you one of my favorite stories from my teacher, Karen Berg. She would always tell this particular story because it leads to the understanding of the bigger picture. Now, as we often say, whatever I will tell you, whatever you'll read in the center, etc., you have free will to embrace it or not, believe it or not. So we ask you, don't just believe, but I always will ask, don't just dismiss it, because at this moment you don't believe in it, or it didn't fit your paradigm, or it didn't show, it wasn't something the way you grew up, etc. Just let's be spiritual scientists, if you will. We'll take in the information, we'll apply it, we'll see how it works. So this is how the story would go. So back in the about 1700s, there was a great Kabbalist, master Kabbalist, the Baal Shem Tov. So one of the people, one of his students, somebody who had learned from him, came to him one day and said, teacher, I see the world, there's a lot of problems, things don't look fair. Like we're saying, bad things happen to good people, good things happen to bad people. What's going on? You teach us that everything is cause and effect, everything is absolute. So where do I see it? He says, you know what? The master Kabbalist, he says, I want you to go down to this park over here and, sort of stand back where people can't see you and just watch what goes on and come see me at sunset. Okay? So he's out there, he's watching, and he sees, there's a nice little lake, and there's this man there, he's sitting against a tree, starting to eat his lunch, and off in the distance comes this very wealthy man. You could tell he's on a, fancy horse, and he's got all the stuff on him and this. So he comes, he gets off the horse, he bends down, to take a drink of water from the lake. And as he does that, his money pouch falls. Okay, he doesn't notice. He gets up on his horse. He starts to ride away. Well, in that second, the guy who's eating the lunch goes to take the money pouch, and he runs away. But literally a few seconds later, another man comes to sit by the tree and have his lunch. Now comes the rich man back. He looks around for his money pouch. He doesn't see it. He looks at this guy. He goes over to the guy. He says, "Give me my money pouch." He says, "What are you talking about?" He says, "I was just here a minute ago. I dropped my money pouch. You're the only one here. You must have taken it." He says, "No, I just got here. I didn't take anything." He says, "No, you took my money." "I know. He took my money." He says, "No, I didn't." So they start to argue. So the rich man takes his riding stick and he starts beating the man, beating, "Give me my money, give me my money, give me my money, give me my money." And the poor guy is proclaiming, "No, innocent, innocent." Finally, the rich man gets frustrated. He says, "Okay," and he just rides off. The poor guy's beaten and he goes away bloody. So the student comes back to his teacher, the Baal Shem Tov, and he says, "You told me I was going to see fairness in the world." He says, "I saw absolute, complete unfairness. I saw a guy get beat up for nothing. I saw a guy get away with money. I saw a guy lose money." He says, "I don't get what's going on." So the great Kabbalist, the Baal Shem Tov, looks at him and says, "No, because you're only looking with your physical eyes." He says, when you stand back and you look at the big picture, in a past life, the rich man and the guy who ran away with the money were business partners. And the rich man stole that money from his business partner. So now the money is being given back to its rightful owner. He says, "Okay, I can understand that, cause and effect." He says, "But what about the poor guy who got beat up for no reason? What did he do?" He says, "Well, he was the judge who took a bribe from the rich man to judge wrongly, right, for the thief." So now when you stand back and you look at that satellite big picture view, does it look fair or it still looks unfair? Now you look and you say it looks fair, right? The guy who stole the money had to give it back to the guy who he stole it from, and the judge that took the bribe, which is not a good thing, obviously, to not bring true justice and truth to that particular lawsuit, he got beat up for it. So now you see the exact cause and effect. So for us then, we've got to be willing and able to see those kinds of things. Now, as we're talking about, not an easy thing to do, is it? Because the first thing we want to do is say, it's unfair. I'm so good and this bad thing happened. But you know what? The more a person holds on to that, then they're immersed in the world of illusion, which is the world of chaos, discord, all of the darkness, all of the problems that are going on, the confusion, and that's where the person will stay. So we don't want to be there. And the whole power of what we're teaching here is how to get us out of that realm. So let me personalize it, if it's okay with you, a little deeper. So let's start like this. Think of a negative emotion that you have. Think of one negative emotion that you have right now in this lifetime. And I'm just going to give you two examples, and then it's up to you to kind of relate to that. So let's go like this. Let's say jealousy. Let's say we have a little bit of jealousy, right? A little bit. We're not so bad. We're not evil with it, right? We really don't wish people bad, but we have a little bit of jealousy. Now we've introduced reincarnation. So let's understand for sure for you and I, we progress every lifetime. We move forward. That means if we're looking backwards 2 or 3 or 4 lifetimes, we were worse and worse and worse, which means as we go back there, then our jealousy was stronger, more impactful. We acted upon it in different ways. So then let's say we go back 3 or 4 lifetimes. And now we're taking just our jealousy. Forget whatever else we may be doing. But just the jealousy. You go back, it gets more and more intense, more and more intense. So let's say now, just envision, okay, maybe not us, but at least get the idea. Go back 4 lifetimes, somebody's jealous of another person, and what could they do possibly? Because the jealousy is so intense. They start to go around naysaying that person, like real gossip. You know what happened? You know this person? They cheat and they lie and they steal and they did this to this person and this and this and this, where they literally ruined, absolutely ruined that person's life. So the person that they were jealous of, that they spoke so badly and did terrible things in the way they spoke, the person died penniless. They had a horrible life. They couldn't get a job. They couldn't find a relationship. All their friends left, even their own families, what do they call, disowned them, things like that. I mean, imagine how horrible. Just think what that would feel like, heaven forbid, if that were us, right? And we're saying, what did we do? We didn't do anything to them. We may not even know who it was, but that's how that person ended up. So now imagine, comes in this lifetime. And because they're a spiritual person like you and I, so all of that jealousy, it's still there. Remember, just because it was a past life, it doesn't disappear. Like the story I told you that Karen uses. It carries over one lifetime to the next until we change it. Which science, after a few thousand years, finally caught up with. My teachers used to say, back in the, let's say, 1990s, Kabbalah is 50th century science, and science is in the 20th century, so they're only 3,000 years behind. But they're catching up. So what does science tell us in the same way? Our actions, we say, cause and effect. So if we did something, as we're talking about 3 lifetimes, 4 lifetimes ago, and we don't change it, it shows up today. Science just says energy cannot be destroyed, only transformed. But if you don't transform it, then it stays the same. What happens to crude oil if we take it out of the ground, put it in a bucket, and we just leave it in our house for 6 months a year? Does it turn into gasoline? Why not? Crude oil is the source of gasoline, is it not? So we just collected the crude oil and we left it there. No, crude oil is the energy of gasoline, but it has to be transformed. It has to be refined into gasoline. Gasoline and crude oil are not separate things. The same thing, just transformed. So this person's jealousy 4 lifetimes ago, left untransformed, will be jealousy in this lifetime. Now, because it's you and I, we worked on ourselves, we've grown, we've been, as we affirmed, greater love, kindness, and compassion. So in ways we have already begun the transformation process of that energy of jealousy. But let's say we didn't finish it. So in this lifetime, what happens? Somebody will speak a little gossip about us. So maybe along the way, we lose one fair weather friend. Okay? But it still bothers us. Maybe we're not invited to that particular social event. Or we're not given that position in a certain social event, right? We used to be the whatever, in charge of a certain facet, and then now, not you, somebody else. Okay, so it's still the impact of the jealousy, if you're following me. But, as I like to call it, it's like pennies on the dollar. Because if you imagine literally causing somebody to die, penniless, you follow so discouraged and disheartened, just like completely broken person. And all we had to pay back is a little bit of God said, oh, so we missed one social event. We're not in charge of the seating in this one particular charitable event. You follow? Okay, it's still impactful, it still hurts a little bit. Pennies on the dollar. Pennies on the dollar. So we have to work with that. So if, heaven forbid, it happens to us, we can say, no, pennies on the dollar. The other one, anger. So let's say you and I, we're not even going to describe ourselves as angry. Let's just call it impatient. Can anybody here say they never ever in the last 2-3 weeks have not acted with some impatience? Okay, good. So we have some impatience. Now, again, go back 3-4 lifetimes. What happens? The impatience becomes anger. You go back a few more lifetimes, and what happens with the anger? So imagine the person who got so angry at somebody that they literally just beat them to death, shoot them, stab them to death. Can you really tell me you can't imagine? Not us, because it'd be hard for us maybe, but let's at least understand, nobody today gets angry and beats somebody up. Road rage, all those things, going postal, whatever name we used to give it. We can see it. Anger, take it out on the other person. It could be like that. Now imagine you and I, spiritual people, like that. Yes, it's very hurtful. For me to try and think, and without giving you the details, I do know in one past lifetime long ago, I did exactly that thing. I got so angry at somebody, I just took out my sword and I just hacked them to death right then and there. Now, what happened in this lifetime? The first day I met them, they hated my guts. And I couldn't understand why. I didn't do anything. I just met them. How could they hate me? Right? How could they act with such hatred and animosity? I couldn't figure it out. What did I do? Of course, it took me 30 some odd years to finally understand. But as we'll get into, I worked with it. I didn't leave myself in a car. Why? I still worked it out. Like I want to give you some steps that we can do that same thing. But I want you to understand. One of the students a couple years ago, one of the students came to me. And he will acknowledge he has also a little bit in this lifetime, a little anger issue, right? Not just impatient, a little bit of anger. So basically, I told him the same thing. He came to me, he says, he does so many good things. He gives, he helps, he scans, he's charitable here in the center, like this, makes his connections, and he had a fender bender, right? Right before one of the big cosmic events. So he comes here, how can it be? I'm doing so much, I'm working so hard, I've helped so much, it changed, So at that point, I gave him the same scenario. Go back 3, 4, 5 lifetimes. Imagine how your anger got worse and worse and worse. So maybe 4 lifetimes ago, you just got so upset, you beat up 6 people, and maybe you killed somebody. So now it comes to this lifetime, and yeah, you've been doing and giving and sharing and helping, right? Spreading the light, spreading the Zohar. But you didn't pay it all off. So what happens? Instead of maybe, heaven forbid, somebody in his own life having to die, or major things like that, he had a fender bender. Nobody was hurt. Okay, the car will go, it'll be repaired, not even so expensive. It wasn't totaled. Pennies on the dollar. Pennies on the dollar. So thank goodness in his case, he came to feel it, he understood it, and he was willing to work with it. So you and I have to start looking in that way. When you look today and you say, oh, something's unfair and it's unjust, and look what they did and this, even just for the moment, just theorize. And be careful, and I will tell you right now, don't keep digging. I wonder what I did in a past life, wonder what I did, I got to find my past life. I'll go to the astrologer to find my past life, I'll go past life meditation. No, to me that's a fool's game. Just be practical. Know today it's cause and effect and work with it. Okay, pennies on the dollar. Already made me feel better. Just to know it's cause and effect, I'm paying back. Pay back happily. Why start another debt? I know we do it, and it's a very usual, normal thing, right? But think of it this way. You pay off your credit card, right? They send you the bill at the end of the month, you pay it off. Then what do we do? Yeah, then cancel it so you don't do it again. Right? But what do we do? So then we go back to the store and we use it. Yes, that's normal. I'm not saying anything bad, but let's imagine somebody who had a huge debt. For whatever reason, they ran up $50,000, right? When they're usually only $1,000 to whatever. They pay off the $50,000, right? Are they really going to make the same foolish mistake to get back another $50,000? No. So the same thing. Once we started paying off the debt and we realized pennies on the dollar, and maybe that's the end of it. Just act. You paid it off. Keep moving forward. Being kind, being nice, being sharing, etc. Why try and start a whole nother debt because it's unfair? Or just leave it sitting there because you're going to find out how, what, when, and where. May not find out. The case of that I have told you, 30 some odd years till I figured out exactly. But it didn't stop me from taking control and overcoming whatever was happening. To live my life with greater care and tolerance and forgiveness even towards this person. Because I knew it was better for me. If we hold the thought of cause and effect, what I put out in the cosmos comes back to me. So even if they were mean, rotten, nasty to me, I don't want that coming back to me. I want to come back to me love, kindness, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, care, and help. So what I put out comes back. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by, oh yeah, but if I'm nice to this nasty person, they'll just be nastier to me. If I'm revealing light, light will protect me from the darkness. So even if they want to be mean, rotten, and nasty, which they didn't have the same negative impact on me. Because I was up there in the bigger picture. I was up there metaphorically in the 99%. They were down in the 1%. So even they were doing what they're doing, didn't have impact on me. And I could still shine, if you will, from above, shine light on them. Just wish them well. Because I know inside their soul, like all of us, is the pure light of God. Our job is just to wake it up and let it out. So we can help others wake it up in them. Many of you know me and technology are becoming a little more familiar, but it wasn't always an easy thing, which is why, thank goodness, I have kids that know all that stuff. I can just call them up. But let's use technology because it's been an issue in the outside world, but we're going to use it spiritually. I like to call it like this. If you're scanning your Zohar and shining light on people, or if you're just envisioning a beam of light coming out of your soul and shining it on that nasty person or that terrible situation, in a positive way, the most beneficial way for everyone, I call it you're hacking into their soul. Just like people hack in a negative way to try and steal people's identity and all that stuff. So let's hack into their soul and let's awaken the real identity, the identity that the Creator put in them, a piece of itself, love, kindness, compassion, all the good things. All that the Creator is inside of us. So hack into their soul. One, more light coming out of you, more light will come back to you. Two, by hacking into their soul and awakening the programming of the Creator in them, they're going to start to also feel inner pressure to change. They're going to start to feel the inner pressure of their negative actions. And like you and I, sometimes even you and I, it takes a little while to feel enough pain or enough discomfort with our behavior that then will change. So we can hack into the soul of every human being on earth and cause that same thing. We can't tell them, even hacking into their soul, how they have to behave. But you wake up the Creator inside, the light inside. The light inside them is going to guide them to the greater forgiveness, tolerance, care, compassion, apology, etc. In the right way, in the right time, towards the right people, in the right situations. You and I could never in a zillion years see that picture. But we know if we wake up the light in them, the light will guide them on the path of the light. The same way, the more we're waking the light in us, the more we're guided on the path of the light. The more clarity we have, the more vision we have from the 99% and not the 1%. So then it's in our hands to decide what we're going to do. It's not anybody on the outside. So let me give you another story. Back to the Baal Shem Tov. Because he's got so many stories, at least that relate to me. So this guy comes in a similar way. Guy comes to complain with him. You know, he's doing good things, and he doesn't understand why his life isn't really working, right? He's not poor, he's not out, but it's just not going what he thinks his potential is. So the Baal Shem Tov sends him away, let's say an hour's carriage ride. He says, go to this particular town and ask for Joe Smith, right? Find Joe Smith. Okay, so he believes in his teacher. He goes, he gets in his carriage, he goes. He's looking around town. He goes, ask everybody he sees. Do you know Joe Smith? Joe Smith. They said, no, we never heard of him, never heard of him, never heard of him. He goes around town. Everybody he sees. Do you know Joe Smith? No. He says, thinking to himself, you know, my teacher told me to come look. I know who, you know, my teacher. I know he's a miracle worker. So he keeps asking. And so finally, one guy that he meets, he says, you know, there's a really old man. Maybe he remembers this Joe Smith you're talking about. So he finds this really old man and he says to him, he says, sir, he says, I'm, you know, from an hour away, the town, this and this, I was sent here, I'm looking for Joe Smith. And as he says, he says, do you know Joe Smith? And the man starts going, pah, pah. He's such a pah, pah. Memory should die and this and that, like really, like this. He says, what are you talking about? He says, that guy you're talking about, he was the worst, the lowest, no good son of a gun that ever existed. Don't even mention his name again. So he's shocked. He figures, you know, if his teacher is sending him to find this guy, maybe it's a lesson, you know, the guy's going to teach him how to prove his life or make some breakthrough. He goes back to his teacher. He says, you know, I did what you said. I couldn't find him. And then I found this one old man, and all he could do basically is curse the name of Joe Smith. He says, but teacher, master, what does that have to do with me and my troubles? And the Baal Shem Tov looked at him and says, because in a past life, you were that Joe Smith. So now he understood why his life was troubled. And again, food, clothing, and shelter and things like this. You and I, even though we may find things that are unfair and unjust, but let's also start to look at what is fair and just and why we think we may deserve more. Count your blessings, as they say. Did you wake up this morning? Are you on this side of the grass, as one of my friends say? Yes or no? Yes or no? Right? Yes, but how many of us appreciated it really consciously? Not just now I'm saying it, you go, oh yeah. You know, one of the things my teacher said, I'll never forget the first time because it was shocking. So if you already know this, because I may have done it before, so then don't be smart about it. Let everybody else answer. How many of you right now have a toothache? Anyone here, a tooth is really pounding, hurting them? No, thank you, okay? But here's the question. How many of you 10 seconds ago, 1 minute ago, truly had conscious appreciation that you didn't have a toothache? No or no? Right? We didn't have that appreciation. Now I mention it, you go, oh yes, thank God my teeth are good and this. Or now, thank God I woke up and I'm on this side of the ground. Thank God I have a car that brought me here and friends maybe that I came with. Thank God I have food, clothing, and shelter. If you're going to look, even us, for those moments where things look unfair and unjust, what about the part that must be, I'm sure, because it's us, the vast majority of our life that we would say, quote unquote, is fair and just, the blessings we have? How much emphasis are we putting on that? Or are we just letting the opponent in our head say, oh, look at what you don't have, look at what you're not getting, look at what you think you're supposed to have, look at what they're doing to you? No, like we're saying, stop looking at the illusion. And here I will give you this, as we're coming to a close. We have basically 3 choices of action. Okay, pay attention because that's all we have. 3 choices. One is just let things be the way they've been. Somebody screams at us, we're in the small picture, we're immersed in the 1%, we scream back, right? Because now I'm going to feel happy, joyous, I'm going to feel powerful over them, right? Somebody criticizes us, we're going to criticize them back. Somebody say not nice things, we just cut them off, no longer my friend. And you go on and on and on, let's say like that. Okay, stay immersed in the world of illusion, stay immersed in the world of darkness, chaos, and confusion. What do you expect to get back? Darkness, chaos, and confusion. That's one choice. Second one is essentially what we learn in Kabbalah 1. Challenge happens. Somebody says, somebody does, something happens. Not nice. We're starting to be triggered. As they call it, our buttons get pushed. Pause, stop for a moment, and just think. 1 has to be cause and effect. Now, please do not misconstrue what I'm saying to excuse their behavior. Yet we have only free will over our behavior. And therefore we decide what's going to come back in our life. So somebody does something nasty, push that button, stop, pause, think. 1, it's got to be cause and effect. The universe is cause and effect. I want to now pay off my debt of this negative emotion. And I want to rise above. I don't want to stay in this world of chaos, darkness, etc. So I'm going to act, as we call it, in a transformed way. Whereas normally, the old me would have acted anger for anger, criticism for criticism, sadness and sadness, whatever, jealousy, whatever it is. No, now I'm going to take the higher road because I want coming back to me kindness, love, forgiveness, tolerance, mercy. So I'm going to give mercy. Yes, I can still walk away from the person. I can still never have to be at their house, invite them for coffee, go to the barbecue, etc. I don't ever have to see them again or hang out with them. But I have to emanate light towards them and through them out to the world because that's what I want coming back to me. And also then, don't look for it to come back through them or that particular situation. How many of you have had more than one job in your life? More than one friend in your life? More than one relationship in your life? Well, then you know already, at least in your own actual experience, that the universe has multiple ways to bring you back a relationship or a job or a friend. So you think suddenly use them all up? The universe has no more way to bring me income, money. The universe has no more way to bring me kindness and friendship and a good relationship and love and all of that. It's only this way. No, that's the trap of the opponent. So when you share, just share, because that's what you want back, and let the universe bring it back. The third level is the one we want to aspire to, which is the only point of teaching what we're teaching here in Spiritual Sunday and the Kabbalah Centre. Rise above it all. Don't wait for the challenge to come. Preemptively challenge yourself. You all thought of some negative emotion that you carry. Don't wait for a situation to come along. You can pause, think about what you're going to do, and then transform. Create already a situation in your own life, or just meditate. If you have a Zohar, scan, and then start sending already the light of, with consciousness, love, forgiveness, tolerance, apology, gratitude, happiness, etc. Pay your debt back before the bill collector comes. That's ultimately the highest, because then it's all prevention, prevention, prevention. And look what's going on around the world, right? In the last, 15, 20 years, more and more people, even insurance companies are talking about wellness care, right? We will pay for wellness checkups. You go back 30, 40 years, there probably wasn't even a thought in their head, right? Even you and I, prevention, no. A person went to the doctor if they had a problem, this and this and this. But prevention is more and more on the minds of people, in the hearts of people, in the world consciousness. So you and I are just taking it to its highest level spiritually. Prevent, pay it ahead of time. Don't wait for the collector, because like a credit card bill, if you gotta wait because you didn't pay it off, comes with a late fee, comes with the interest payment, etc. You can still pay it off, it just costs more. So let's pay it off the cheapest way, if you're following me, by doing it up front. That's the way of mercy. That's the ultimate way of mercy, because we're doing it on our own. We're not waiting for something to happen, which is more the way of judgment, because it's a little more painful, and then we change. Let's just do it voluntarily from the outset. And the key is, and the power of what we do here and the power of the center that the Rav and Karen created, was to create community, spiritual unity of people, all nationalities, all religions, all backgrounds, etc., so that we could all work together, support each other in our individual process of transformation. So as we're closing, this is what I came up with this morning. We all have the power to choose our destiny, because we've been filled with the light of the Creator. And that light of the Creator created the heavens and the earth and the plants and the animal. We have that same power in us, and therefore we create our own lives. Every word, thought, and action creates our own life, because the only power we have is the power of the Creator. So then, starting right now, let's us decide to use this power, the gift that the Creator gave us of this light force, to see beyond the illusion, to operate, knowing that cause and effect is absolute. And therefore, let's act with greater love and kindness and compassion towards every person. Because I, you, we want a life that's filled with greater love, joy, and peace. God bless. Okay. So as we do every week, and for those of you online, I'm going to share it online. Okay. We can only exist because of your support. And so whatever it is that you could share with us, whatever your heart is open to give, it's helping us with the various projects. One, just to maintain what we do here. So we're going to take a moment to do a meditation, and then we'll have a meditation on one of our 72 names. So you're welcome to stay with us, those of you online. But to maintain what we do here, Spiritual Sunday, to maintain the building that we have a Boca Raton Kabbalah Center, and to expand the projects to bring more people to learn online, the Karenberg Scholarship Fund, or the Zohar Project that's spreading the Zohar, which also, if you don't have one, at least get one of these. A little pocket Zohar. It just emanates the light of the Creator, and it keeps you immersed in that light, which then starts to dissipate more and more of the darkness that may be around you where you go, or even helps you realize what you didn't know before, what negativity you might be spewing into the cosmos, with a little bit impatience, a little bit of judgment, a little bit of anger, a little bit of guilt and shame. So it just brings protection. But this is our ultimate mission, is spreading so many Zohars around the world that the light removes all the darkness in the cosmos, and then we all see clearly, because then in essence there'll be no 1%. We'll live in a physical world, but we'll see the reality. We'll see the light, and we'll see the cause and effect even before we do the actions. So let's just take a moment, those of you here with us, hold your offering in your hand. Money is just a vessel. What it will spread out into the world and bring back to us is determined by our consciousness. So this is why we take this time just to inject your love, gratitude, your light. It will go out in the cosmos. It'll reach the heart and soul of every human being on earth through the projects of the Kabbalah Centre, whose founding mission, the only objective, is to bring peace to the world, the removal of all forms of pain, suffering, and death, by uniting people through this wisdom that will then bring the greater unity of heart and soul. And so we send this off into the world, envisioning every human being on earth having an awakening today because of our gift, that they will also act with greater love, kindness, and compassion towards all human beings. And together we say, Amen. So I'd like to do a meditation for those of you here. There we go. If you're not familiar, what you see behind me is some of the chart of the 72 names of God, which doesn't mean that there are 72 gods. It means that there are 72, at least in this frame, different facets of the Creator. Like we said, even the idea of love, kindness, and compassion, those are names of God. God is love, God is compassion, God is forgiveness, God is tolerance. So the Kabbalists teach us, and also, if you studied the Rosicrucians, the Keys of Enoch, and various systems out there, they say the same thing, that these things that we have defined as Hebrew letters are not a creation of any human being. They are a primordial construct, like a photon, except in a spiritual way, they just emanate the light of the Creator. And since our eyes are the window to the soul, and the Creator implanted in us light, our job is just to activate it. So literally by scanning. I mean, let's just take it this way. Take the example of the computer. The Rav and Karen used to talk about it. You go to the store, you scan your products. And once it's scanned, because everything else was programmed, then the inventory, the price, etc. So scanning. We can scan with our own eyes. Just scan, in this case, Yud, Bet, Mem. Let the light of them that are combined to create design beneath disorder. You see it? Yeah. Design beneath disorder. Or, if you want to get simpler, finding or living order out of chaos. That's what this is helping us to do, as we said today. See more clearly, keep in mind cause and effect, just act to pay the debt, because we want more good coming back. So just let the shapes be imprinted in your mind's eye, Yud, Bet, Mem. And then if I can ask you, sitting comfortably in your chair, feet flat on the floor, hands on your lap, just taking a few deep breaths, breathing in through the nose, hold the breath for a moment, exhale through the mouth. As you're holding that breath for the moment, Let the energy of the light existing in the air flow from head to toe. So it's activating every cell of your body, physically and spiritually, to be receptive to this new energy we're about to introduce. Allowing yourself to relax into the warmth, to the peace, to the serenity that is the light of the Creator. Just feeling yourself immersed in that light. And now in your mind's eye, envisioning these primordial nano-robots of light, Yud, Bet, Mem. See them above your head and see a beam of pure light from the upper worlds shining down through the Yud, Bet, Mem, and see them glowing with beautiful light. Take a good look. See in your mind's eye what colors they shine. And then bring them in through the top of your head. Feeling that new energy awakening. The power, the strength, the clarity to see order through whatever may look to you as chaos, unjust, unfair. To have the consciousness, the certainty that there is absolute cause and effect. Strengthening your desire to rise above the illusion and limitations, to increase the light, the blessings, the goodness in your life. And now let these energies flow down through the head, the neck, across the shoulders, activating the light in every cell of your being, every part of your soul, through your torso, hips, legs, to the feet. That you are glowing with this energy. And bring the Yud, Bet, Mem into your heart, the core of your soul. Let that light be awakened in you. Harmony, peace, gratitude, with whatever challenges you've been through in this lifetime. With this strength, this awakening, knowing that it has been pennies on the dollar, even if it seemed extremely traumatic, difficult. And with this strength, Yud, Bet, Mem, you're going to let more light shine out to those particular situations and those people in them, awakening their heart and soul, taking away from your perspective the discord, the blockages, the darkness, the pain, and the suffering, and allowing yourself to feel greater peace, harmony, serenity, and let the light shine out through those people, those situations, out to every person on earth. Seeing the world surrounded and immersed in the infinite light of God, unconditional love, peace, harmony, and unity. Take greater conscious note of the energy you feel, the power, the strength, the light, the joy. Lock it in your mind. Keep it in your heart. It will be more and more of the guiding force as you move forward in your life. And envision yourself and those around you happier, more joyous, more peaceful, more loving. And together we'll take one more deep breath to anchor it in, solidifying it, and then slowly exhale and open your eyes. Thank you for being here with us here locally. Thank you for those of you around the world. Please, if something impacted you, for those of you here, go on Facebook, pay it forward, share the video with others. It will also be, hopefully today or tomorrow, on the Spiritual Sunday YouTube channel. So if some of your friends, that's what they're more familiar with, or that's what they like, it will be there also. And there's probably 100 or so videos already there. Have a great day, a great week. God bless, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you for joining us. If you liked what you saw, subscribe to this channel that you'll be notified when we post new videos. Share the video with your friends, they can also benefit. And check out the website, www.kabbalah.com, that's Kabbalah, for hundreds of articles and classes. Wish you an amazing day, and God bless.